Hi, I'm Gail, and I'm going to demonstrate a lesson today on teaching inflectional morphology to young children. I'm going to demonstrate a few different ways that you can teach inflectional morphology depending on what level and age the children you're working with are. I will discuss targeting past, present, and future tenses, targeting appropriate productions of plurals, and targeting the use of appropriate possessive and personal pronouns. For teaching inflectional morphology, there are a few materials that I like to use. The first material are these sequencing verb tense cards by Super Duper. They're super handy with the young children in helping them learn their past, present, and future inflectional tenses. Another material that I like to use are these action cards. These action cards are really helpful with teaching a variety of goals for the children. So with these, you can work on personal and possessive pronouns, you can work on syntax and word order, you can even work on the past, present, and future tense with these. So first I will explain how to use these cards for teaching the initial past tense. So what I like to do is give the child that I'm working with a little bit of an introduction and a little bit of a practice before we begin our trials. So I like to start off by saying, okay, we're going to look at a few cards. So take a look at this card. Here, the girl is brushing her teeth. Now, when we talk about something that she already did, and if she already brushed her teeth, like she brushed her teeth yesterday, then we have to add ed to the end of our words. So listen, we can say, today the girl brushes her teeth. Yesterday she brushed her teeth. Did you hear that? I put the t sound after brushed. That means she already did it. It's in the past. So then, after my introduction and explanation, I would start my trials with the child. So I usually like to pick 10. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So initially, when I'm teaching this, I am only looking for the child to fill in the sentence for me. So I provide the sentence today. So for example here, today, well this one is irregular. Let's do, so you want to start with regular past tense, not move to irregular past tense first. So these actually have irregular and the regular past tense. So it's important that you look through and make sure you're not giving them the irregular past tense when you're first trying to just target that past tense, that regular past tense ed. Okay, so for this one, I would provide and say, today the girl is dancing, or today the girl dances. Yesterday she, and I wait and see what the child gives me. If it's their first time learning this, they're probably just going to say dance. So if they give you dance, then you can tell them, oh, I didn't hear your d or your t sound afterwards, because that's what we have to add to our words when it already happened. It happened yesterday, so watch me. And then I would model. So I would say, today the girl is dancing. Yesterday she danced. Did you hear my t sound? Let's hear yours. And then you can have them say back, danced. This visual is really helpful with some children who aren't hearing it or producing it. So that's another one of the things that I like to do with them. So then you would just continue on with this, a few trials. A lot of these are irregular. Get the rest. So you could say, all right, let's try another one. So look at this. today he is pouring, but yesterday he poured. And see if they can give that to you. If not, again, model it for them. Once they start to pick up on the fact that they have to add that ed at the end to make it a little bit more challenging, instead of having them fill in the blank, they can complete the entire sentence starting with the word yesterday. So you could say, today the boy is pouring, and then stop. And then that would be their cue to give you the complete sentence with the ed attached. So you would be looking for them eventually to give you the complete sentence as yesterday the boy poured the water. And that can be a progression of their goals. So you could start off with working on the inflectional morphology past tense ed just in sentences. And then you could increase it to be in, or just at the word level, and then you can increase it to be in a sentence level. So these cards are really helpful. I use them every day. There's also other action cards that you can get. There's so many. It's just really helpful to have a picture of either a boy or a girl and something that they're doing. These can also target, simple, like, what is she doing? She is sitting, or she is sitting on the chair. So just simple word order, subject, verb, object. And you can also target, like, if they're using their is and are. Unfortunately, these cards don't have multiple people, so you can't do they. But you could do like he and she. You could talk about boys and girls, things like that. I like to separate piles into who's a boy, who's a girl for my really young kids that have trouble differentiating. And then that can lead into having them use the correct personal pronouns, so he and she, things like that. These are available on Amazon. They're $13, and I've used them every single day. So I recommend getting some type of action cards because I think they're really helpful. So then moving on to our more advanced kiddos with their past tense ed. Once they've mastered the past tense ed, you can go ahead and talk about irregular verbs if you want, or you can even check on all their tenses. So if they're using the present tense correctly, the future tense correctly, and then their past tense. So these sequencing cards are really helpful in doing that. I'll show you a little bit about these. So when you open them up, they're divided into two different colors. So the blue are for irregular verbs, and then the red are for regular verbs. So I'll start with the regular verbs first and show you how that looks. So I would take out 3 cards, and usually I introduce these cards when the kids have done their past tense ed just at like one single card level, if they can even produce and they're cognizant that they have to add that t or that ed, that d sound after when they're speaking in past tense. So with these cards, I get 3 out, and on the back it'll have the verb. So usually I show them the verb. So I say, okay, this story is about cleaning, okay? Our word is clean. That's the word that we have to add our ed sound to. So let's try one. So initially I like to just place these cards just face down like this. I give these cards to the kids and I say, let's see if you can put them in order. What do you think? So the kids look around, they figure out, okay, let's see what happens first, and they kind of get them in order, as I'm doing right now. Okay, so I got them in order. I'll bring them up to the camera for you. And this is fun for kids too, because I think it kind of boosts their confidence a little bit. And then they're like, yeah, like I put them in order. So it's already something that they're doing correctly, especially if they're struggling with this. And so I have them in order. So I have first, over here, first the girl will clean her room. Here she is cleaning her room. And at the end, or I went opposite. At the end, she cleaned her room. Sorry, it's a little confusing with the camera being opposite of where I'm looking at. So yeah, so I start off and I say, okay, like, do you want to go first or can I go first? Sometimes the kids want to go first and they'll just jump right in and they'll tell you a story, and then usually I model it for them. Or initially they say, oh, can you go first? And they're a little worried. They're not sure like what they're supposed to say. So I say, okay, I'll model for you. Here we go. So take a look. And we both look together and I point and I go through each picture. So I go to the first one and I say, okay, look, here's our word. So look, she will clean her room. Here, she is cleaning her room. Here, she cleaned her room. Did you hear that? And then I have them tell it back to me. So I go, okay, now it's your turn. Let's see if you can try. Some kids will have a lot of trouble with this. So for the kids that are struggling, I will just have them fill in the words. So I'll read the story to them, and then they just have to give me, for example, that past tense ed at the very end. So I can say, okay, she will clean her room. She is cleaning her room. Okay, she, and wait for them, and they should say cleaned her room. Or they say clean, and then I model again, and then I have them repeat the correct production. Cleaned. Oh, I liked how I heard the t sound at the end. That means she already did it. It's in the past. So that's another way that I like to teach past tense ed. And then this also targets the present. So is cleaning her room, and the future will clean her room. And also you can do, instead of is ing, you can just do like the present. She cleans her room. He digs a hole. She blows bubbles. A lot of, not a lot of my kids, but some of them leave out that S in the present tense. So they'll say, she want a sandwich. It's she wants a sandwich. So you can use these cards again too. Or you can even just take out just the middle one, just the present. What is she doing? You can also do it too for these action cards. So they kind of overlap and they're really fun and handy to have around. And then I will quickly show the irregulars. It's the same thing. So for irregulars, I've usually been teaching the ED for a little bit, and once they've gotten the ED, I say, okay, now there's some words that we talk about in the past where we have to switch the word. And for this, we have to switch it a little bit. So let's try one. So I would show them, for example, this one is swim, this story. So I would explain the story to them, and at the very end, I would ask them, they blink, and I would see if they gave me swam. And then if not, I would model, okay, that one's so silly. We have to switch the word. Isn't that so silly? So the word would be swim gets switched to swam. And then I further emphasize by looking at the three cards and saying, oh, look, they will swim, they are swimming, and they swam. Swim, swim, switch the word, swam. So let's try swim, swam, swim, swam, and then I'll have them go back and forth. And then once we do a few of these stories, we cycle back through. And then I say, okay, let's see if you can remember how we switched that word, and see if they can give it to you after like targeted practice. And then briefly, I will go over targeting possessives. I'm running out of time. So with possessives, you can use these action cards. So like possessives like apostrophe S. So like the girl's flower, the boy's ball, things like that. A lot of the kids tend to leave off that apostrophe S. So again, you would model. You could say, whose toothbrush is that? And they might say her toothbrush or the girl toothbrush. You want them to say the girl's toothbrush. So then you would model the girl's toothbrush. Did you hear how I put an S after that? The girl's toothbrush. It's hers. Also, what I like to do with the kids, I can have a name. Like, oh, let's give them a name. So they could say, oh, okay, let's name her Annie. So then I could say, okay, so whose toothbrush is that? It's Annie's toothbrush. And make sure you are listening to see if they give you that apostrophe S, and if they don't, model it for them and then have them tell it back to you. You can also do this with worksheets. I like to use Teachers Pay Teachers, also Twinkle, is similar to Teachers Pay Teachers, but instead of paying per document, you can just pay a flat membership fee. I believe it's $40 for the entire year. It's through the United Kingdom, but it has great resources. So sheets like this are really helpful. This one targets personal pronouns, but you can also incorporate the use of possessive pronouns in here. So you can have them complete it and talk about he and she, and then you can go through each picture and say, okay, so for like number 1, look over here. Here, she has a flower. Whose flower is that? And see if they can give you the girl's flower, and you can maybe write next to it, the girl's flower. And then you could say, whose crowns are those? The kids' crowns. Whose shorts are those? The boys' shorts. And then this is a really great, worksheets are really great because then you can send them home with parents and explain what you did during the session, and then you can have them work on what you guys worked on at home. Also, briefly, plurals. For plurals, if they're really, really young, then you can just do it receptively, like cleaning up. You can say, oh, give me 2 blocks, just so they're hearing that the S goes after the word when it's plural. And then when they're a little bit more advanced and they're like older, they're sitting at a table, so age like 4 to 5, and they're still having trouble with the plurals, especially the irregular plurals, so like foxes. They have to add an extra is sound, like an ES, as opposed to just an S. That's when worksheets are really good because you can send them home and they can practice with their families. So like this is just an example. There's so many of these online. They can fill them out. So like, okay, we have 1 sausage. We have many sausages. And then they could write it out. 1 monkey, 2 monkeys. 1 knife, many knives. So you could go through like that. I also like to, once they've mastered this, or it's just something that we're occasionally monitoring, just having fun with it and looking around the room. If you have like stickers on the wall, the therapy room I was working in had like fish and bubbles. I would look around and say, okay, we're going to do our plurals. Let's hear if we can get them right. And we'll look at a fish and we would say, okay, I have 1 fish. What about 2? Wait for them to say fishes. So that's a good idea too. And then you can tell parents too that you guys can work on like playing around with the plurals at home. Oh, look, here is 1 card and here are 2 cards, and see if they give that to you. So that's about it for teaching inflectional morphology. I've covered going over the tenses with the action cards and the verb sequencing cards, and then I've covered going over possessive S and plurals, both irregular and regular. I think cards are really important, and worksheets are important too, as you can send them home and then they can get practice at home. On my handout is a link to both these materials. I got them on Amazon, and then these materials. These are a little bit more expensive. I believe they're $31, but they're really helpful. The girls in my clinic that I just worked in, we would always be